This week on the Rochester Press Box.
Hi, I'm Coach Wayne Wilson with the RIT hockey team, and I'm glad to be here and talk about RIT hockey.
I'm Tariq Spence from WDKX Wake Up Club, and I'll be talking a bit about real professionalism at the youth level. It's called the handshake.
I'm Pat Duffy from the Breakroom on WCMF. Hey, congratulations, NHL. You got the Goons out of the league. It almost cost you a superstar.
And talk about Cam Newton, a superstar, whether you like it or not. All this week on the original Rochester Press Box.
The Brew House was created to capture and share with you the long history of the Genesee Brewery. But the brewery itself isn't half as interesting as the beer and the people who make it. Visit GeneseeBrewHouse.com.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the original Rochester Press Box, brought to you by the great Genesee Brew House. We are here for our taping this week. Mike Catalana filling in this week for Bill Pucko as the host of the show, and I'm pleased to have with me from WDKX, Tariq Spence.
Feels good to be number one.
Now,
It does!
we should just drop the mic now and you can walk off.
That was the first and only thing on my mind.
I don't know what he can say.
Yeah.
Pat Duffy, what can you say?
Well, let's see. You're here for Bill,
Right.
which means I'm here for you, which means I need to lower my game to get through the show.
All right, now let's up the game and bring in the head coach of RIT Hockey, Wayne Wilson.
Am I the third star? Or
Oh, no,
I don't know where that puts me.
definitely
but
the number
glad
one
to
star.
be here.
All right, hold on. Bill Belichick doesn't tell us why he gets a black eye, but you
Yeah.
can tell us what happened here.
Well, it was practice last week. Started practice, first drill, first shooter. I was actually moving the pucks out of the corner because that's a dangerous spot. And while I was moving it, a shot off our goalie to the forehead and stitches, 5 stitches later.
You buying it?
Well, yeah, he could beat me up. Of course I'm right.
Let's talk about your team and where you are. You're doing this thing again, right? A little slow start and get rolling. The streak came to an end at Air Force, but things have been going better. What's changed with your team?
Well, yeah, I thought we had a pretty good start to the season as well, but some unfortunate games where we lost, and at home in particular. 3 of the games, we played a Bentley series where we outshot them 58 to 20-something and 38 to 20-something. So we put up close to 100 shots, but lost both games in overtime. I think really for us it was just persevering over some tough losses and sticking with it. And we've been able to stick with it, and all of a sudden the wins started coming. So it's been good. The guys have been great, and we've had a number of injuries, which everyone goes through this year, but it's been next man up, and we've done a great job.
Yeah, when you look at your team, winning on the road has been the key this year. What did that for you? I mean, that's not an easy thing. And the way you guys travel, back-to-back games, when you hit the road, what's been the difference?
I think it's been a total team effort. Last year, our team revolved really on the one line, the Garbowski line last year, and they really led our team. This year, we've had a lot of different people step up, play different roles, and it's refreshing as a coach because everyone's included. So when you're talking to the team, they're not looking at your star players saying, you've got to get us through this. They've taken responsibility, ownership of their own play, and it's been a fun team to coach.
Yeah, one thing about this team, Pat, I'm thinking in terms of fans supporting them. You have the students. I mean, the students have been there, and the core of the fans, but I think they're starting to become more of a Rochester team in that way, and why not? I mean, they've had so much success.
Absolutely. I mean, I have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old that love hockey. We go to 3 or 4 RIT hockey games, men and women's, a month. I mean, it's right down the street. It's the most affordable sports event you're going to go to, and they do a fantastic job on the inside. And oh yeah, the hockey is fantastic too. Why would I not want to be a place like that? Yeah,
and it's something that Rochester, I think, needs in that way too, because it is our Division I team, right?
Well, the one thing about it is your success came right at the time when the Sabres were not a part of the Rochester area. And then everybody was like, well, wait a minute, why not watch these young players play at this very high level of hockey? And next thing you know, everybody's starting to spread around and go to different games, whether it's at the Blue Cross Arena or not.
Well, we've got to kind of get in a playoff mode now. We've got 6 games left, 4 of them at home here, and we're trying to avoid looking at the standings and just worry more about how we're playing at this particular time. Early on in Division I, we had won some regular season titles, lost in the playoffs, felt very empty with that feeling. And the last couple of times we've gone on to the NCAAs, we've won the playoffs. So our emphasis is to play well by the end of the year. It doesn't mean we still would like to win a championship, but we want to get in that top 4 spot. And top 4 means we're playing at home. Our Final Four is at home in Rochester. And if we're playing well, win our playoffs, we go on to the NCAA. And the team that goes to the NCAA feels like they've won the whole season. Yeah. And that's what our goal is. So we want to be playing well these last 3 weekends. Paying attention to details is important to us as we approach, because once you get those single game elimination, seasons end very quickly, or they can advance very quickly as well. So we're just trying to prepare ourselves the best we can to be playing our best hockey at the last part of the season.
We've seen it happen before. Maybe we're going to see it again. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk a little Cam Newton. You're watching the original Rochester Press Box.
The Hillside Family of Agencies works with youth and families on their own terms, helping them pursue their own goals, whether at home, work, school, or one of the Hillside campuses, offering encouragement and commitment, standing with families, helping to create a healthy future.
Back on the original Rochester Press Box, in this segment brought to you by the Hillside Family of Agencies. We thank them for their support and all the great work that they do. Tariq, let's talk Cam. Is anybody talking about Cam this week?
You know what? It should have died down by now. I mean, it's just a press conference. And if anybody's ever seen Cam Newton in previous press conference, he kind of just wings it the whole way through. This is winging it on an emotional loss. I have a problem with, if you're going to be upset with him in the post-game press conference, why not still show he shook hands with Peyton Manning? Why not show all the other things that he's done? If you ask your kids, what do they think of Cam Newton? He's the guy that gives footballs every time he scores touchdowns. I think we're blowing this whole thing out of proportion. And the other thing, too, don't you want honesty from athletes?
Yeah.
You want honesty from athletes. Then you get it. Then you criticize them for that honesty. I think he walked away because he didn't want to blame his teammates, which he didn't. He didn't want to blame his coaches, which he didn't. I think it's more about what he didn't say as opposed to what they wanted him to say.
Based on your callers, people you've talked to, is race a factor in this thing?
Part of it. I mean, it's always somewhat of a factor. But I think the biggest complaint is that, you know, he's 26, he's young, he is a quarterback. I knew as soon as he lost that game, there was going to be flack. Yeah. There was going to be criticism, there was going to be racial comments, and there were. And this is the society that we're living in now.
Does he deserve any of that blame?
I don't think so. I mean, you see the way he plays. You knew he was going to be a bad loser. He said it himself. He uses that, what are all the writers saying, hackneyed, that line from Hagen. What was it? Show me a good
loser and I'll show you a loser.
You got it. So let's look at the climate of the NFL offseason right now. You got the thing going on with LeSean McCoy. You got everything going on with Johnny Manziel. Your biggest criticism of what is soon to be the biggest star in the NFL is he's impolite. That's what you got to throw at him? Like, seriously, we've got bigger problems here in the NFL than a guy who doesn't want to talk to you after he had possibly the worst night of his entire life.
But here's the thing, though. I think you didn't like Cam before that. So this just proves and fuels your dislike for him.
Sure.
Whatever it was, you were going to dislike him. I don't understand. I didn't particularly like the way he handled the press conference, but that doesn't mean I hate Cam Newton.
Yeah.
I like Cam Newton all the way around, but he's 26 and learning to be a leader.
Have you ever had to talk? I mean, you guys have had highs. You make it to the Frozen Four, you lose. I mean, have you said to your guys, have to say anything about, you don't deal with the media attention. Obviously, nobody does what it's like at the Super Bowl. Have you ever had to talk to them about
that? Well, I think after a tough loss, you tell your players, hey, now we've got to deal with it. And whatever the reasons why you lost, whether it be an individual or whether it be just a bad group effort, you do have to face the music. And I think you just try and keep it short, though, because you don't want these lengthy answers either, but just keep it short and answer the questions and you move on.
Now, to your point about, not saying anything bad about his teammates, and I'm with that because I didn't want to see him do that. I will say, when I heard him yesterday talk about, this week, when he talked about not going for the fumble.
Yeah.
That didn't seem like Cam to me. This is a guy who does play. I love his game.
Yeah.
I love the way he plays. I said, I love the way he celebrates. I like all that. I don't mind him being upset after a loss. He kind of doubled down on the whole thing of not going for the ball and then saying that. I don't think that would resonate as well even with his teammates, let alone anybody else. I mean, he should have dove for the football.
I think everybody's saying if you're a football player, you're a gladiator, you go down there and you go get that ball. You want that ball, quarterback. I don't know what he was thinking at that time. If he could have it back, he could have it back.
Yeah.
Remember, it's the biggest game of the year,
Yes.
and every mistake is going to be magnified even more. I don't know. That's, once again, maybe 36-year-old Cam Newton will say to 26-year-old Cam Newton, you should have dived on the ball.
Yeah.
But that's 10 years from now.
Yeah, it is. The thing that I think we all have to keep in mind, too, a lot of people say, well, he could be back, get another chance. He could be. Dan Marino never went back. Donovan McNabb, great career, won Super Bowl. There's a lot of players that are in that spot, and he is great. And he may be the best player in the NFL, but we don't know if he's going to be back. When we come back, more discussion on what went on this week in sports when we continue on the original Rochester Press Box.
As we go to break, it is time for the Turnbull Heating and Air Conditioning Trivia Question of the Week. When you're searching for a local heating and air conditioning contractor, look no further than one of the most reliable teams in the area at Turnbull Heating and Air Conditioning. Is called Turnbull at 343-2005. As we come back from the break, time for the answer to the Turnbull Heating and Air Conditioning Trivia Question of the Week. When you're searching for a local heating and air conditioning contractor, look no further than one of the most reliable teams in the area at Turnbull Heating and Air Conditioning. Just call 343-2005. See New York in a whole new way. Amtrak is offering a 15% discount for all travel inside New York State and to Montreal. Visit Amtrak.com for the See New York discount. Safe, comfortable, affordable, and easy. Amtrak. Enjoy the journey.
Back on the original Rochester Press Box, Mike Catalana, along with Tariq Spence, Pat Duffy, Coach Wayne Wilson of RIT. This segment brought to you by Amtrak. Enjoy the journey. We're talking about LeSean McCoy this week. It has been a topic. As we speak, we are awaiting what appears to be going to be arrest warrants in this case. Coach, from your perspective, you've dealt with players with some off-the-ice issues. I know it's not the same as the NFL. They're not being paid money. But in terms of being a coach of a team, knowing you have talented guys, but there may be issues, how do you deal with that? And what do you say to that player when he's in that circumstance?
Yeah, you know, it's always tough, and every circumstance is always going to be different, but I think there's always consequences to your actions, particularly if they're inappropriate. And I think as a coach, you're trying to be fair, consistent, and everything else. You've also got school policies and things like that that are also involved, that some things are even out of the control of the coach. You're breaking maybe
Right.
school policy or the law in general. So I think you've got to deal with it as fairly as possible, as quickly as possible, and just be consistent throughout. But things are always going to come up when you're dealing with a number of people, in our case 26 players and young players between the age of 18 and 22 that are just going to be everyday problems. It's when they grow that you've got to be careful.
In the room, if it's a star player or a non-star player, you have to ride that line. I mean, there's guys that are important to your program, but you can't make two sets of rules when you're in college.
The only difference in rules is playing time,
Yeah.
and that's the star players will get more playing time. But when you're dealing with that, you've got to deal with them the same. And in fact, if you deal with the star player with a consistent manner that you do with everyone else, I think it has a bigger impact on your team in that they fall into order a lot quicker than if you're doing it to a lesser player and everyone says, well, he's not playing anyways, that's why he's suspending him. I think if you treat the star player the same as everyone else, then I think it makes a bigger impact.
From the Bills' perspective, are they right now? The only thing they've said is we're aware.
Yeah, what else can you say?
What do you think's going to happen?
Here's what's bothering me, right? All the hot takes of people. Release him now. Get him out of
Yeah.
here. We don't need that headache. He's never been in trouble with the law before, right? In fact, everybody that knows him, you know him, you've spoken to him before. I start making phone calls when this thing goes down. Everybody that has a personal relationship, the first thing they say, this is so out of character for LeSean McCoy. Not something you expect for him to do. He's done goofball things before, but never anything violent like this. And to be real, we don't know what the heck happened. So for people to come out and go, you need to release LeSean McCoy right now, not only business-wise is that the dumbest possible thing you can do, but We don't even know what happened.
Yeah.
We have no idea what happened. Why don't we pump the brakes? I get that it's a sexy story, and the best player maybe in the last 15 years in Buffalo Bills uniform is in a lot of trouble. Give me a little time before we jump to he shouldn't be on the roster anymore.
You with him?
I am, and I think by the time camp rolls around, this will be a non-story. I think he will probably get his suspension. This thing will be all over with, and he'll be at camp. If not Bill's camp, somebody else's camp. I think he's going to get suspended, probably a game or two, and that'll be that. And this is the way the NFL has to attack everything that goes on now, because video is everywhere. No one is going to slide anymore. No one's going to throw it away anymore. And, every player's got to be accountable for their actions. I agree. I think he's going to get a penalty, but this won't be a story by camp.
Yeah, it may not be, because a lot still has to play out. And your point, we don't know what happened. We don't know what caused it. You can see some of that grainy video, but exactly what LeSean McCoy did, no one knows outside of the people in that room, and even that depends on what side of the fence maybe they're on or what they say. Let's see how it all plays out. We're going to be back, unfinished business, when we return.
The Rochester Press Box Stat of the Week, brought to you by Cariglio's Pizza, with 5 locations serving the Rochester area. Visit carigliospizza.com today.
Our fan of the week is Bob Heimrich from Rochester. He receives a $25 gift card for the Brew House and a Press Box t-shirt from manager Laura Van Valkenburg. Congratulations, Bob, and thanks for watching the Press Box presented by the Genesee Brew House.
The new caramel macchiato at Dunkin' Donuts. Let handcrafted layers of espresso, milk, and caramel-flavored swirl uplift your mood. Indulge in a hot or iced macchiato today. America runs on Dunkin'.
Back on the original Rochester Press Box in this segment, Unfinished Business, brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'. We begin with Tariq.
It's one of the time-honored traditions. You see this a lot, maybe not always on the professional level, but you'll see it in college, you'll see it in high school. Section 5's coming up. At the end of the game, everyone shakes hands. The players shake hands with the other players on the team. The coaches shake hands with the coaches. I was at a game not too long ago, and at the end of that game, 3rd and 4th graders, in which one of my sons was playing on the team, or my son was playing on the team, it was brought to my attention that one of the coaches kind of didn't want to shake hands with my son's coach. So I felt, in this world in which we're always asking about sportsmanship and professionalism, the coach of the youth team, 3rd and 4th grade, sets the example. You're around these kids all the time. How you're screaming, how you're coaching is how they're learning. So if we're asking Cam Newton to be professional during a press conference, I'm asking all youth coaches, I don't care if they're 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade, all the way through high school or college, to act professional and shake hands. Maybe not with all the players, but at least with the coaches. And not a wet noodle handshake, a real man handshake. Show the professionalism, because the kids are watching you more than they're watching Cam Newton.
How about you? They don't let you coach the kids, do they?
No, I actually coach youth hockey, kind of. I'm more of a guy who makes sure they don't get off the ice than actually does any hockey stuff. I mean, we all got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Wayne, your turn.
I just feel, when I reflect at the end of every year, how lucky I am to be coaching college hockey, to be going to my job with 2 great friends and my assistants, Brian and Dave, and great support staff at a university that is so supportive of our team and all athletics at RIT. And just as importantly, or more importantly, is to work with young student athletes that enjoy coming to play and represent their school. And every day I just feel lucky.
Yeah, and that program has done Rochester proud, and we thank you for being here today. Pat, go ahead.
Well, sticking with hockey, something happened Tuesday night, Sabres-Panthers. Evander Kane does something that hasn't been done in 15 years, right? No, yeah, something like that, whatever, it doesn't matter. He gets thrown out of a game for the fight hat trick. And for years, people have been saying, let's get fighting out of hockey. We run guys like Pat Duffy and John Scott out of the game. And you know what happened? What happened last night? A potential disaster. A guy that's making millions of dollars, that's supposed to be scoring goals for you, that could have broken an orbital bone, or could have broken a hand on a helmet, or could have fallen down and gotten a season-ending concussion because there's no one else to fight for him. You can't wipe fighting out of the game. It's going to happen. Somebody's going to do it. So instead of a guy like John Scott, who's making $900,000 a year to go out and get punched in the face, you have a guy like Evander Kane, who's making millions of dollars a year to go get you 30 goals, risking a season-long injury, not once, not twice, but 3 times. You're not going to tell Evander, don't go out there and do it, because he's going to go do it. His name is Evander. Evander's punched people in the face. You need a guy like John Scott, like Pat Catalana, like your Rob Rays, like your Ty Domies to go out and handle that business. And now that you've run it out of the game, you're going to see guys like Evander Kane hurting themselves on the regular, defending situations that should have been defended for them.
Should they get rid of it in the NHL?
I think there's a time and place still for fighting, but you certainly don't want your star players fighting. But it's going to go that way, less and less. But I still think there's a place for it.
Yeah, the guy he fought had the Gordie Howe hat trick last night.
Yeah,
the fight, the goal, the assist.
Does it count if you get the hell beaten out of you 3 times?
Oh,
Does it matter if you win or lose?
Asterisk. The only thing I'm going to close with is I want to say I like Cam Newton a lot. I'm rooting for him a lot. I was a little disappointed in him. I think the problem in this day and age, in this Twitter world, in this reactionary world, is that people are all one side or all the other. I don't hate Cam Newton. I like him. I think he made some mistakes. I hope he learns from him. I hope he gets the chance to do it, and I hope you give him the chance to do it. The guy's a superstar. Whether you like it or not, I think he has a chance to be an all-time great, especially if he learns a little bit from some of the things that did not go well. That's going to do it for all of us this week. For Tariq, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having him.
Pat, well, thanks for being here. And of course, to Coach Wayne Wilson, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
All right, and we thank our friends here at the Genesee Brew House for being such a great host for us this week. Bill Pucko is back next week to do a better job than me. We'll see you again next week on the original Rochester Press Box.